In 2010, two Canadian brothers decided to quit the rat race and embark on an 18,000-kilometre journey around China on motorbikes. Over the course of the 65-day expedition, the brothers encountered snowstorms, culture shocks and mechanical failures. China View met with Ryan Pyle, one of the two brothers, to find out if it was all worth it. Having lived in China for over 10 years, Ryan Pyle could call himself a China expert. He's travelled around the country, capturing some of the most wonderful and breathtaking parts of China as a professional photographer.
This is supposed to be one of the most beautiful sights in all of China. And we can't see anything. We can Photoshop that in later, right?
It was around the same time in 2010 that both Ryan and his brother Colin found themselves searching for something new in their lives. But when the two put their heads together, what they came up with was an idea that would not only shock their families and friends, but also change their lives forever. What they came up with was this. The Middle Kingdom Ride. Two brothers, two bikes, 18,651 kilometres around the very outer reaches of China. A journey that would make them the first people to circumnavigate China by motorcycle in one single journey. The two brothers from Toronto visited the lowest point on Earth and slept at Everest Base Camp beside its highest mountain. But not everyone was excited about the trip in the beginning. Ryan and Colin's friends and family thought they were crazy to even consider such a massive trip.
So I think every great idea starts with people telling you that it's impossible. So I really feed off of that. You know, when I come up with something that I want to do and people start, turning it down or saying that's not going to work or that's impossible, that just drives me more.
Welcome to Shanghai. My name's Ryan Pyle.
Mid-2010, the two brothers set off on their motorcycles. What they called the Middle Kingdom Ride would set off in the cosmopolitan city of Shanghai and pass through some of the most incredible parts of the country. From the North Korean border, Inner Mongolia, Mount Everest and Shangri-La.
I was seeing things for the second, third, fourth, fifth time. Colin was seeing things for the first time. And as he was seeing things every day, his stereotypes about what China was, based on Western media, were being broken down on a daily basis. And he had no idea of the kind of depth and richness of all the different cultures and the minorities and the food and the different types of religions that all exist in China. Most people think that China is just a singular racial group or a singular religion group or all this kind of things, but actually it's not. 55 official minority peoples and all kinds of different ways of living. And this is what we had the chance to explore, because instead of flying from one place to another, we really experienced China 1 kilometer at a time, or 1 mile at a time.
During their remarkable odyssey, the brothers encountered some of the most intense changes in culture, weather, altitude and terrain that exist in the world.
So we just stopped here because I have never seen in my life a river flooded like this. You can see it burst its banks on the other side, and it's already into the corn stalk. And here you can see a tree that's just been almost at least half submerged. This is unbelievable.
Another few hours of rain?
Yeah.
3-4 hours of rain, this would have been up here on the road.
Still might be a flash zone.
Despite all these things, Ryan says the most challenging aspect of all was being away from his wife and kids for 65 days. Constant challenges that were thrown their way kept him and his team occupied.
So whether it was the altitude or whether it was the freezing cold or the hailstorm or the sandstorm, these things threw up barriers to our journey. It was like you never like to make this comparison, but it was like a video game, First you have to get through the hailstorm. Okay, you get through that, and then the next level is the sandstorm. And there was just these constant barriers that were thrown up, and we had to kind of problem solve, navigate. Do we stop? Do we take shelter? How do we move forward? Do we travel today? Do we rest today? Do we wait a day? What will the weather be like tomorrow? So all of these kinds of things were coming up on a daily basis. And we had to kind of try to use the information available to make the best decisions we could. But Mother Nature kind of tricked us many, many times along the way, so it was a tough one.
Finding the solutions to all these problems, as well as keeping up the momentum to continue, brought the brothers, who had lived apart for more than a decade, closer together.
A real kind of test of sportsmanship and teammateship, and we kind of really passed.
So what was the most breathtaking moment during the trip, during those 65 days?
There were two. The first one was the G219 highway, which is this very remote highway from southwest Xinjiang into northwest Tibet. So it really travels along the border of China and India, and China and Pakistan. And the whole road has an average altitude of 5,000 meters. And there's no towns, no villages, no gas stations, no nothing. So we were camping each night, and we had to carry our own fuel. And I've never felt that remote before. And, you know, being up at 5,000 meters, the landscape is stunning. The isolation is amazing. It's a wonderful feeling. And that was definitely one of the highlights for me. The other part was Mount Everest. So Colin had never been to Mount Everest before, the base camp on the Tibet side, on the China side. So I had been there a few times, but I really wanted to take Colin there, and that was one of his big highlights, to see the biggest mountain in the world. And that when we kind of rolled in midday and kind of rode our motorcycles right up to Mount Everest base camp, that was quite a special moment as well. And it was a beautiful, clear blue sky, and you could see the whole mountain. And we felt like we'd really accomplished something.
After 65 days, the trip of a lifetime came to an end, and the brothers joyfully rode their motorcycles the last few yards through Shanghai, ending up at the point where they had started. Next on their ambitious agenda was circumnavigating a country even more challenging than China, India.